man, you just gotta go with the flow. Yo, what's up guys? It's your boy coming to you from sunny Tirana, Albania. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world at the moment, and I just wanted to give you guys some words to kind of like help you cope with some of the madness that's been happening. A lot of you guys have been following me for a long time. You know, you've seen the whole progression from New Zealand into Saigon, now Saigon into Albania. You know, it's been a pretty wild ride, but nobody anticipated what the last couple of years were gonna be like. You know, this whole pandemic thing, all the drama in the world, you know, it definitely can really fuck your head up. But it's really important to try to focus on things that you actually have control over, and we're gonna discuss a lot of that today. Brush your teeth. All right, guys, so we're gonna go for a stroll. I wanted to get out of the house, and I thought it would be a good time to talk to you guys because I've been talking to some of my supporters lately, and everybody's going through a lot of stuff, a lot of craziness. For those of you that are in Saigon, oh, man, I don't even know. Like, the situation is so mental. Nobody saw any of this coming, you know. You had, you know, 2-3 years ago, in my opinion, very few places in the world that were better to be than in Saigon. You know, you had a strong economy, you know, very open policy for foreigners, very flexible visas. The government was very okay with like long stay foreigners. There was decent paying jobs. The general vibe was just very hopeful, you know, and to see what happened has been depressing, like to see this sudden change. You know, to see everything that's happened over there has been really dark. But it's just this whole virus thing, guys. Like, it seems like everything it touches turns to shit, you know, and there's not really anything you can do about it. It's one of those things that in life is just beyond our control. And I find that if you focus on things that you don't have any control over, you're gonna make yourself mentally ill. There's just nothing you can do about it. So the most important thing you can do is kind of take an assessment of like what's available to you right now. Like, what are your options, right? Sitting around and whining and crying and, oh, this is fucked, it's not gonna fix the problem, you understand, you know? Like, that's something that just ends up, like, you end up spinning your wheels. It ends up going nowhere. You take the negative and you try to like find a solution for it, it doesn't linger as long. If you sit there and you just fucking like soak yourself in misery, you end up like one of these weirdo trolls that like fucking stalks my pages, you know, like hating the world and having no real fucking social relationships. I mean, you know, that shit'll fester, guys. Like, and I'm telling you, man, like, there is a lot going on right now, and there's a lot of reasons for people to be stressed out. Like, I completely understand that. But at the same time, I mean, you got to work with what you got. I mean, like I'll tell you guys a story about me, right? So for those of you who are just finding out about my channel, you know, I've been, you know, bouncing around for a long time now. Like, I wasn't recording at all, but I started recording when I was living in New Zealand. So that's like going on a little bit over 4 years ago. I had been living in Thailand on and off, bouncing around America. I had met my wife. We ended up going to New Zealand because we figured, oh, you know, everything we heard about New Zealand, you know, like, oh, it's supposed to be this amazing place and blah, blah, blah. You know, we went out there and it was, you know, I ended up staying for a while. I got residency, but it was just like America. It was just another racket, like another place where people are just working for nothing and getting nowhere and spinning their wheels. And for a lot of people, the little differences between New Zealand and America was enough for them, you know? Like, maybe that the little, like, having a little bit of an access to healthcare, I mean, that was enough for them. But it was never really enough for me. I wasn't okay with being somebody's bitch and like working for somebody who, like, you know, they're trying to get over on you at every possible opportunity. They're trying to go in your pocket. And it got pretty dark for a while, guys, because we were paying like $270 a week to live in a fucking shed in Wellington, which is like some of the worst weather in the fucking world, guys. Like, they show, every time they show you Wellington, they show you Wellington on a nice day. That's not how it is like for 9 months out of the year. It's fucking wet, cold, rainy, very different than what Wellington advertises itself to be. Living out there, wasn't very thrilled with the situation, had, you know, fucking a lot of things in my life that I could have, you know, I could have just made excuses. I could have been like, oh, well, I made it this far. But I still decided to get the fuck out of there and change it, because I knew that if I didn't, I would definitely be miserable. And I had a feeling that, like, by, you know, just taking a shot, this is something I had done throughout most of my life, is I just get up and I fucking go. You know, I've always done it, you know, and I used to do it around America a lot too. But I knew it was like, if I take a shot, I'm like, it could be worse, but, you know, if you're not happy with what you're doing, I mean, you can't just linger in it, you know, like, you got to find a solution, right? Now, if you can't just get up and go, maybe you got to start taking steps to making it possible to go. You know, like, for example, you got situations that you do have some control over. Like, you know, like this idea that everything's up to fate is bullshit. Like, everything's really up to you and what you do with yourself, you know? At the end of the day, ain't nobody can save you but you, you know? And that's the thing, and I guess that's the message I'm trying to kick, is that, like, you know, you gotta take what's available to you and you gotta try to work with it, you know? And it's not always gonna be the best possible scenario or the best possible situation. Sometimes you're gonna be in a fucked up position and you're gonna have to really think about what to do, but giving up really shouldn't be an option. You know, life is already short and difficult. You know, shitting on yourself and being negative and just focusing on things you don't have control over is really, really not gonna help, you know? Like, the whole time, you know, I lived in Vietnam, I always tried to present to people the good and the bad. You know, I wanted people to have you know, all the information they needed to make a positive decision for them, to be sure that what they were choosing to do was the right move. You feel me? So, you know, I had to talk about things that weren't good, because I felt like it would be disingenuous for me if I was just like, oh yeah, every other travel blogger, everything's fucking awesome and blah, blah, blah. And it's just not how it is. Like, there's some things that definitely suck. But I didn't stay there for 4 years because everything sucked. I had sat there and all I did was think about the pollution and the traffic all day long. I would have went fucking nuts. I wouldn't have lasted in Vietnam for more than a year. A lot of people don't. A lot of people last in Vietnam for like 3 months before they go running home. You know, I made it out there over 4 years, and one of the reasons was because there was a lot of good stuff. And instead of just fucking thinking about all the things that were fucking terrible, I just tried to focus on the things that were good and work with the tools that I had. And I was very fortunate, you know, like, I was able to make some good relationships. And again, man, it comes from just kind of taking a bit of initiative, picking yourself up, and just deciding enough is enough, you know? Like, you know, life is so short, guys. Like, you blink your eye and 20 years go by. That's the part that's so nuts to me now that I'm getting closer to 40, is I'm starting to really understand that this shit goes quickly. So if you're trying to have a good life and you're trying to enjoy your life, you really can't wait, you know? And waiting, you know, like, that shit can happen real easily. You could be working at some job, you're not happy with it, you know, but you keep telling yourself, like, oh, if I pick up and if I move to this country, or if I do that, it's irresponsible, or I don't have enough money, what if something goes wrong? And then you can just walk outside of your job and get smacked by a bus. So, I mean, like, really, what's the difference? Like, if I die living in an interesting country somewhere over in Eastern Europe, I think it would be a lot more of a fulfilling life than dying at a desk in a corporate office in fucking, I don't know, suburban Ohio. Yo, what's going on, guys? We got some church bells a-ringing. I'm cruising along the Lana River. That's that little green belt over there. Really, really nice day, man. Summertime in Tirana, around like after 5 o'clock. Oh my God. It's like the most perfect weather you could possibly imagine. So anyway, guys, so yeah, I was out in New Zealand for a while and I just wasn't happy. I mean, I could have stayed out there. There was advantages. I mean, you know, I had access to a healthcare system, access to an education system, but like the quality of life wasn't there and the cost of living wasn't there. And like, it would have been real easy to just stay put out there. And you guys could watch from the very first videos from when we started out in New Zealand. you could see the progression, man. Like, I kind of had to come into who I was. I had to kind of learn a lot. I had to nearly die. But had that experience in Saigon never happened, I would never have been and done the things that I've been able to do. I would have never had the frame of mind to do it. You know, like, I just wasn't thinking on that kind of a level. And all that happened because I just wasn't happy and I did something about it. So I guess the point I'm trying to make to you guys is it's all up to you how the story goes. And let's not kid ourselves. This is what life is. It's just one story. It's your story. And it's up to you how it gets played out, you know? Like, you could end up in a situation where you're happy, or you could end up in a situation where you're miserable. And sometimes that doesn't even really have that much to do with circumstances. It has to do with frame of mind. Like what I learned from the Vietnamese about, you know, the Come Sao mentality, which basically means like no problem, no worries, Come Sao, you know? When life is hard, they smile, you know? They just try to focus on the good, man. And I found it's true because I started doing a lot of yoga because my back's all jacked up from jiu-jitsu, you know? And like when it really sucks, man, when you're holding like a plank on one arm for like mad long, you know, you do realize that smiling tricks your brain. And one thing I learned about living in Asia was that like I just smiled a lot. And I still do it. I probably look weird. I'm walking around just like smiling at motherfuckers, you know? Because I feel like, yeah, there's things in my life that, you know, aren't great. You know, there's things I wish were different about my family, about my, you know, my past, my life, but I can't really dwell on it because it's already water under the bridge. I can only focus on like what's going on now, what do I like, what don't I like, and how do I deal with it, right? That's literally all I got. So I try not to overcomplicate it. I try to make strategies. You know, if you're depressed, you got to ask yourself why. You know, what's going on? Why am I feeling this way? Trust me, shitting on yourself isn't going to help anything because the world is already fucked and already nobody cares. So you being extra hard on yourself, it's not helping nothing. You know, it's going to really be counterproductive because, like I said, the world's already against you succeeding. You know, the odds are not in your favor, son. Ultimately, you know, you got to decide that, like, listen, I want to have, you know, A, B, and C for my life, and I'm going to do whatever I need to do to accomplish it. And, you know, really, like I said, guys, there's nobody stopping you. I mean, life is difficult. Nobody ever said it was going to be easy. There's no guarantees. But, you know, what we do with the time we have is literally the only thing we have some control over. So, like I was saying, guys, honestly, there's so few things in life that we actually have control over, you know? Sometimes we don't even have control, and that's another reason to kind of, you know, take advantage of the opportunities that exist because, you know, like you could have been born with the inability to walk or like, you know, cerebral palsy or, you know, a child who was in a war zone and only lasted, you know, on the earth for like a few hours or a few years. You know, if you're walking and talking and you're in 20s or 30s, you lucked out. So you really can't piss that away, and you really can't like devalue what that means to be alive. Because I'm telling you guys, you may only get one shot at this. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, sometimes there's these twists and turns that come about in your life, and you know, you really got to be ready to just jump on it. You know, like, I mean, sometimes it'll go wrong, and sometimes shit will get worse. But like, you're never gonna know if you don't try. And I think that's the thing that I would imagine that I would regret the most if I was old and looking back on my deathbed, and I'm thinking about my life, and I'm like, man, I feel like I would have liked to have seen even more places and tried to do, you know, more things that I wish I had done or been more honest with myself about, you know, because like, honestly guys, who the fuck cares what anybody thinks about you? Like, I end up fighting with trolls sometimes just to defend the reputation of my business, and I'm not even gonna lie, those videos for some reason get really good engagement, and I think that says a lot about people and about what they actually want. People like drama and people like negativity. And I think that that's a big reason why like people get stuck, you know? Because you end up obsessed with all the things that could go wrong or that are wrong with life instead of focusing on yourself, how to make things better for you, how to make things better for the people you care about. I think it's a frame of mind thing. And you know, internet culture makes that a lot worse You know, people are online, people can read any kind of information that like matches their belief system. So, I mean, it's just, the whole thing can become very, very toxic. So like I was saying, guys, you know, you can get stuck in these like sound chambers, you know, where everybody's saying the same thing and they're saying what you want to hear, you know, because that's how these fucking algorithms are designed, guys. That's how like YouTube and these type of places work. And really, people are like, oh, well, why some guy got thousands of followers, but he's a scumbag? And it's because that's built into the algorithm, guys. That's how you make fucking YouTube or Google, that's how you make that shit work for you. What's up, guys? You basically just create drama. And if you create enough drama, people fucking view it. And you know, even if people hate you and they downlike all your videos, it actually drives you up, you know, because the whole point of like YouTube, Google, Facebook, those type of things is to fucking get you to stay online. That's the whole point of it, right? To get you stay on their platform, right? So anything that gets you further addicted to that, whether it's positive or negative, is what you're gonna be fed. So being on the computer all fucking day, I mean, it's different if you gotta do it for a business. Like I gotta do it for money. I'm on the computer quite a lot. But if you don't have to be, man, you need to go the fuck outside and walk around and think. Because I'm telling you guys now, honestly, there's a lot of shit in the world that can go wrong. But if you sit there all day and that's all you're focused on, you're never gonna do shit. And then you're gonna wake up one day in your fucking 50s or 60s, bitter and miserable, hating fucking young people. But it's really nobody's fault but your own, homie. It's, you know, you're the one who chose to fucking be angry and to do nothing your whole life. And you know, listen, we all got sob stories, bro. I've been through so much fucking shit. If I were to talk about my childhood, fuck, man, I definitely should not be like a reasonably stable adult. But how did I do it? I just don't let things break me. And I try to think about things in a rational way. I try to focus on what do I have control over, instead of focusing on things I can't control. Because I spent a lot of my life, especially my youth, in situations that I had no control. You know, so now I'm an adult. And in my early 20s, you know, when I was out on the streets a lot, I definitely didn't, you know, I hadn't learned how to do that yet. But coming into my 30s, it was a real eye-opener, a real change in like how I understood the world, you know? And like, obviously there was still mistakes, but it was never a point where, fuck man, like where I felt like the way I did when I was younger. You know what I mean? Like when I was young, I've always felt like I was like, you know, I had no control. By the time I reached my 20s, I didn't give a fuck. By the time I reached my 30s, I was like, oh, okay, so I do have some control. I got some choices that I can make. You know, it is ultimately up to me, you know? And I think that that's, you know, just the normal part of aging. But a lot of people don't ever learn the lessons. So they get older, but they don't realize that the reason why their life sucks is them. It's not because the world sucks. The world's always sucked. The world sucks for everybody. How come some people can live perfectly happy lives? How come some people can still achieve things? You know, I think a lot of this has to do with choice and frame of mind. Because if you're sitting around right now and you have a Western passport, you know, you have advantages that you don't even know that you have. Like say for example, you're in America right now, you're depressed. Well, you know, maybe you have a little bit of money. Why are you in America? Why don't you go check out, there's lots of cheap countries that are beautiful. Right in your region, you know, like Central America, South America, you know, you don't even have to go that far, you know, and you just flip the whole culture. Like for me, the Western culture always fucked my mind up. I always felt like it was just not conducive to happiness, you know. I was always trying to figure out, like, was it me? I was moving around cities in America and I could never understand, was it me? Or was I the one who was fucked up? Or, you know, and after a while I started to realize it wasn't me. I just didn't fit into the society I was in. And as soon as I knew I had that choice, little by little, I started taking steps to make sure I didn't have to stay there. Because guys, like, you know, you go through all these challenges, right? You go through all these struggles in life. And at some point, you got to decide, you know, am I going to continue to do the same thing that isn't working, or am I going to try to do something different? And for me, picking up and finally leaving the US was the first step to really doing something different. What's up, guys? Hey, brother. So yeah, so far guys, I gotta say, like, just based on first impressions in Albania, very fucking relaxed, very cool spot. I'm glad we came out here. This was another situation. I saw lockdowns on the horizon. I saw a lot of things happening that didn't seem like good omens to me. And instead of sticking around and being miserable, I took a shot. I came out, and so far Albania is great. I mean, it's not perfect, but no place is perfect. There's a couple of things that are taking a little getting used to, but you know, after the first step, it just is a new challenge. It's more fun. I don't want to live somewhere where everything makes like sense, you know? The second that you're not learning and you're not challenging yourself, you're not growing. And that's a real easy way for you to get stuck, guys. And I think it's important to remember, man, that like you get stuck somewhere, man, unless you have absolutely zero resources, you're handicapped, you know, you're in a war zone, you're in a situation that you just have no control over, then you being stuck is a frame of mind. It's not a reality. It's a reality that you've created for yourself. And then, you know, for whatever reason, you make excuses. Oh, well, you know, I can't do it because of this, or I can't do it because of that. But really, it's just you telling yourself you can't do it. Like, there's nothing stopping you at all. So at the end of the day, guys, the point I guess I'm trying to get across is instead of focusing on things that you don't have any control over, you got to assess what you do have control over and then make like a real effort to change it. Because like I said, man, there's a finite amount of time on this earth. And what you do with it ultimately will predict whether you are truly happy or not, you know? And if it's something as simple as just changing the way you think, you know, as a first step towards like maybe achieving goals or doing things you never thought you could do before, I mean, that's a small ask. Yo guys, so I was talking to one of the guys who likes the show, you know, and he was telling me a little bit about some of what he's going through. And this dude had lost a lot of money getting run around with visa bullshit. He was on a tourist visa in Vietnam and he was paying, even though he thought he was eligible for the extensions, he didn't trust it, so he was paying them for the extensions. And there was a lot of back and forth with that was very unclear for people. And you know, Vietnam definitely used it as an opportunity to get some money, you know. I've talked about that in previous videos, some of my opinions on why all that went down. I'm not going to go into it too much, but I'm just going to say that homeboy lost a lot of money and that his situation is pretty bleak. Like, he had listened to some other online travel bloggers and they had told him that he should go to Bali. You know, they were suggesting Bali hard. So he went and he checked out Bali, but it turned out that now everything's on lockdown. So homeboy got to Indonesia and he couldn't get out of Jakarta. So he's still stuck up in Jakarta and like staying in a hotel room, paying money to be in a city that's on lockdown. So there is, you know, this guy is in a rough situation. He's real dark in his thinking. He's been telling me he's feeling a lot of anger and a lot of hatred for Vietnam. And I can understand that, you know, like I don't like a lot of what the Vietnamese government has done recently. Now that doesn't mean that I don't like Vietnam. I still love Vietnam. Man, I came into myself in Vietnam. I figured out who I am in Vietnam. Had I not lived in Vietnam, I would have never made it to here where I'm at right now in Albania. What's up, boys? Hey, what's going on? So I would have never, ever made it out here, man. And yo, I'm loving it out here. It's super fucking relaxed. Like, look at this lifestyle. You know, it's like Mediterranean and chill, like good food. And obviously, like, there's things in my life that I wish were better. But, you know, like I said, I had to get up and I had to do something about it. I had to make some sort of changes. Otherwise, I was going to go fucking crazy, you know. And I feel like homeboy, he's stuck right now in a quarantine hotel. Or I don't know if he's in quarantine or if he's in an apartment. I'm not really sure. But just from the little chat we were having, he's in a fucking bad place, you know. And he's angry, and I don't blame him for that. But I would suggest to him, and I would suggest to you guys, is that the only thing you can really try to do is deal with short-term solutions. So you have to kind of figure out what do you have in terms of resources? What's available to you at the moment? How can I leverage what's available, you know, what's in hand to make my situation better, you know? Because being angry and blaming people, blaming the world or blaming a government, even if it is their fault, it doesn't change anything. You know, I got a lot of things throughout my life, people who I don't like, guys. You know, I was a bouncer for 15 years. I've been around the block, you know? Like, I've definitely had to knock a few motherfuckers out, you know? And at different points in my life, my mentality was really different, you know? But as I've gotten a bit older, I'm trying not to hold on to anger, man. I'm trying not to let anger be something that dominates how I feel or the choices that I make. And like I said, I implore Homeboy, the way I would implore any of you guys the same, is to just, you know, try not to focus on being angry. Just try to focus on a solution. If you got a little bit of dough, you know, you're looking at some other countries, I can tell you right now, Albania is pretty cool. Everything's open, the society's real chill, the weather's beautiful, the people are cool, you know. It's just a place where you can be and you can kind of reassess life. And if you have a US passport, you can be here for up to a year at the moment. You know, it's very straightforward. You know, the immigration process is very easy. You know, and that's just one example of countries that you could just pick up and go to, and you really don't need all that much money. You just need a couple grand and you can get yourself started. Now, unfortunately, Albania is not like Vietnam. Vietnam is a destination where you can go and make a lot of money, or you could lose a lot of money. It's a little bit like gambling. And that's how it is with a lot of these countries in you know, East Asia. Places out here, it's a little more difficult to make money if you're just trying to start out. But if you have a little bit of money, you know, you could possibly do some really good stuff out here. There is a tremendous amount of opportunity if you look at the world in a certain way. If you focus on what you can do versus what you can't do. All right, we're gonna try to make it through this traffic jam. Can I survive it? Will I survive it? 3 cars, 3 cars, 3 cars. And we'll go 2 cars, 3 cars. All right, and I can continue. Right on. But I'm telling you guys, life is short. You only get a little bit of time to try to get things right, and you're not gonna get them right, you're gonna fuck them up. And other people are gonna fuck them up for you, and all kinds of obstacles are gonna happen. But like I said, you could quit, you could let life break you, or you could try to do something good. And at the end of the day, what other choice do you got? You know, it's either that or kill yourself. And I don't encourage anybody to do that because, you know, shit can get better. Like, I've been in points in my life for sure where I thought, like, oh man, this is it. I can't deal with this amount of suffering. Like, it's just fucking crazy. Like, my brain was gonna, you know, snap. I wasn't gonna, that was it. My will to live was done. But, you know, I stuck in there and I kept pushing forward. And now I have a pretty okay life. I have a business, it's fucking complicated. You know, I'm dealing with the Vietnamese government, I'm dealing with visas. I am looking to expand and do different things, but it's really not a bad life, and it's something I just completely put together myself. You know, I put it together without really any guidance, without anybody really, you know, helping me. And, you know, by the time I took on business partners and I started taking on employees, I had been doing it all by myself, you know? And it was all DIY, man, and it was all just because I decided that, like, I wanted to have a life where I could travel. And I just chose to make that reality, you know? And, you know, it all starts with just making a choice. Like, I could have stayed in New Zealand and been miserable living in a fucking moldy shed paying all kinds of money, or I could have stayed in America and possibly ended up dead or in jail like half the other people I grew up with. But instead, I'm cruising through a really interesting country in the Balkans, you know, because I chose that. And people, you know, they look back at their lives, and it's very easy to blame other people. It's easy to be angry, to blame other people. It's easy to point your finger. But, you know, the hardest thing in life to do is to really look at yourself and say, well, where did I fuck up? What mistakes did I make? Well, you know, what could I have done differently? And I feel like that's a conversation that a lot of people are just not having with themselves, you know? And, like, you can't get better as a person if you don't, you know, reassess, you know, what you think to be true or what you know to be true. Like, you know, I look at my relationships with women and growing up, and, like, when I was just, like, in my early 20s, there's no way I could have maintained a relationship the way I do now with my wife, you know? Because my mind wasn't in the right space. But it would have stayed in the wrong space unless I had decided to start thinking differently. Yo, what's up with it, guys? So we're cruising. We're almost in Skanderbeg Square, main central square of Tirana. I wanted to take a little walk. This area is called Muslim Shari and Kavalis, I think. This road is Kavalis. I think I'm probably saying it wrong. But these are two of the more important roads on this side of the square. And so far, I like it a lot because it's very authentic. It feels like Albania. It feels like you're really in Albania. Whereas the area that I live in, it seems more like it's definitely Albania, but it's like could be any European city. Like it's definitely a different feel. But the side streets over here feel very real, very authentic, very good vibes. And I find it's been interesting, man. People don't know what to make of you when you're walking around with the camera, you know? They don't know what to think of you. So it's kind of interesting. Some people are like, what the fuck is this guy doing? And then other people are kind of friendly, and then some people are like, huh? You know? And it's always interesting for me to kind of have these little, like, you know, observations of how people react to seeing you walking around and filming. And you know, there's a lot of people who would be very uncomfortable doing that, just walking. And because when I first started doing it, I was uncomfortable with it. It took me a while to get used to just kind of cruising along, talking and filming, you know? And it was something that for sure, when I first started doing this, I would like overthink it, or I would be like, oh, I gotta say this a certain way, and if I say it the wrong way, it's not gonna be good. And you know, after a while, man, you just start getting your flow and you get your rhythm and you just kind of go, you know? And I think that's very true for everything in life, really. I mean, you know, you're gonna get a rhythm, you know? At first, something's gonna be difficult, but eventually, you're gonna overcome it. And like I said, man, it's a state of mind, you know? Being angry, focusing on negative, focusing on things you don't have control over, you know, it's not gonna lead to anything productive. It's just gonna get you stuck. And, you know, you're not gonna get to maybe do some of those things that you wish you could have done in your life. And for me, you know, I'm not maybe the happiest person every minute of the day. I have some minutes where, for sure, throughout my 24 hours that I am fucking stressed out, you know? But at the end of the day, I'm doing a lot better than I could be. And I'm doing a lot better than a lot of people. So I need to be grateful. And, you know, I mean, you can get caught up in that way of thinking where the entire world is against you, but, you know, it's just not gonna be productive, you know? I think, you know, what we lack as a species is empathy, you know? We don't, you know, we have individual examples of empathy, but we as like a species, we don't seem to really give a fuck about each other. Not in a big way, you know? And that's a shame. I mean, and I think for the survival of our species, that is something we're gonna have to learn. You know, being a little bit humble and sort of just accepting that there's things in your life that you don't have any control over, you know what I'm saying? And kind of understanding that other people are going through the same things you're going through or even worse, you know? So like, why stay harping on something that you can't change, you know? Why feel sorry for yourself when somebody else has it worse? Why focus on things that are gonna keep you from achieving the things you want when you could try to use that energy in a more productive way? I think that's the lesson that individuals, societies need to learn. You know, we can help each other, and at the same time, we can focus on what we have in common instead of the things that we are different, you know, or the things that are bad about a society, you know? Like, there's a lot of shit that's bad about every society, guys, but there's a lot of things that are good about different societies, and I think we can learn a lot from each other, you know? And I think there's one of the biggest things that really is used by, you know, authorities and people who are in power. You know, it makes it very muddy, you know? It makes you think that everybody's very different and that, you know, you don't owe anybody nothing and they're not part of your group, so you don't need to feel sorry for them or feel empathy for them. And that shit is soul destroying, guys. That shit will totally mess your mind up. You know, the only thing you can really do, guys, is try to make things a little bit better for yourself and for those around you, and show a little bit of empathy for people who are suffering. Try to, you know, do some good in the world, because, you know, what's the point of being angry all the time? What's the point of fucking harping on, you know, negativity and, you know, just toxicness? I mean, is it making you happier? Is it making your life better? Are you achieving your goals? Are you helping other people? You know, I find that 9 times out of 10, this way of thinking, it just completely destroys the mind, man. It destroys the community. I don't know, man. For me, like I said, I'm no expert, but I'm a guy who's had to survive, and I've had to go through a lot of crazy shit in my life to get to where I'm at today. And I'm appreciative, man. And when I see somebody who has a bad situation or has it worse than me, I recognize that I can't save the world, but I try to be kind to that person and to not judge them, you know? Even some of the trolls that talk a lot of shit about me, like I've always said, if you don't like me, you can come fight me anytime. I mean, I'm not the hardest guy to find. I'm on fucking YouTube recording all the time. I show you where I go and hang out, you know, but like why, you know, why put all that energy into that, you know? Like why fucking worry about another guy so much that you just kind of make like 6 Facebook accounts to troll them, or like fucking, you know, YouTube accounts over and over. You know, it's just like that energy could be used in such more productive ways. And I feel like that those type of people are the people who, you know, societies have really just broken them, you know. They just do not fit into anywhere in the world, and they're in an echo chamber of other angry, bitter fucks who are harping on negativity and hatred, and that's just all they got in their lives. If it wasn't for the hatred, they would just fucking fizzle and die. And that's sad, man. Like, you know, people want me to like call those guys out and to try to fight them and blah, 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 because people like drama. But like, is that really making my life better? Am I really doing that person a service, like by feeding into that kind of negative and destructive way of thinking? I honestly, guys, I think that a lot of this shit comes from people who are just unhappy. They're unhappy with themselves, they're unhappy with the shortcomings in their life, and they project, because it's easier to project and to hate someone than it is to kind of look at yourself and say, well, how did I end up in this situation? Why am I not happy? What is missing in my life, right? I think that's the real challenge for a lot of people, bro. And like, you know, it's very easy to fall into that, you know, hating this one or hating that one or hating yourself. But instead of focusing on fucking hating things, you should focus on some of the things that are good about life. And man, there's so many things that are good. Travel, friendship, relationships, you know, community. You know, these are some of the most valuable things in the world, you know? And like I said, it all ties back into empathy. It ties back into having the right frame of mind and not focusing on things that are destructive or that are beyond your control. And you know, like the Vietnamese, they just smile. Sometimes life is pretty crazy over there, you know, and it's easy to blame, you know, whole groups of people for the actions of a few. And I think that's a lot what's happening with Saigon at the moment, is there's a lot of people who are very angry at Vietnam, but being angry at Vietnam is not necessarily gonna change anything in your life. It's not gonna make anything better. The only thing that's gonna make your life better is changing the way you're thinking and trying to come up with a solution. And you know, if you're stuck, sometimes you're stuck, but it may only be temporary, you know? When we, you know, countries like Vietnam, you know, the governments are unstable, it's chaotic, they change the rules all the time. There's no rhyme or reason, you know? I get it, man. I'm a little angry too, man, you know? I didn't have to leave Vietnam. I chose to leave Vietnam because I was so disillusioned with what I was seeing after how long I had been out there, and like, I just didn't really want to be out there no more. I just got such a bad feeling about everything that was happening, and it just didn't seem like it was gonna be the spot. So I took an initiative and I got out of there, right? Now that being said, I got a lot of people in Vietnam that I love, man. People I've done business with who are like family to me. You know, people who from jiu-jitsu, guys who I've been in their weddings and stuff. I mean, these people really mean a lot to me, you know? Like, my time in Vietnam was like, seriously, a very pivotal point in my life. So I love Vietnam and I love the Vietnamese people, and I don't know what's gonna ultimately happen with their industries and with their country and with COVID. I don't know how that's gonna play out, but I can't blame the people and the country for the behavior of the government, because if people had blamed me for the behavior of the US government, my God, man, I wouldn't, you know, we wouldn't be welcome anywhere. But you've got to take people for people, man, and you can't group them into big categories, you know? And I think that's an important lesson, and I think it helps, you know, to kind of just take people as individuals. I think, you know, we get really wrapped up in labels, and we get really wrapped up in like all these ideas that we have about how life is supposed to be, how society is supposed to be. But like I said, man, life is short. You don't know how long you got. You know, if one way of life makes you happy and a different way of life makes somebody else happy, there's really not anything that we can do to change that, you know? For us forcing our ideas or forcing, you know, what we think is right onto other people isn't gonna really, you know, make anything better. It's just gonna make everybody more stressed out, more angry, you know, more fighting, more conflict. You know, like a big first step to happiness, man, is just accepting that life is what it is. Yo, what's up with it, guys? So we are in Skanderbeg Square. This is the center of Tirana, Albania. It's a very, very cool open space. I really like it. I'll definitely do more shooting over here at some point. At the moment, you know, I'm just getting acclimated. We're just trying to figure out exactly, you know, what we want to get done in terms of the business. We're meeting with people. So I am going to keep putting out videos and keep some new, fresh content coming for you guys. But, you know, just bear with me because we're still kind of getting like settled in and figuring out everything and working on things for the business. But I gotta say, man, like how could life be so bad? It's a beautiful day. People are out in the square, riding their bikes, chilling. You know, it's a nice time to be alive, man. And yeah, sure, the world is a little fucked, but you know, there's not really a whole lot you can do about it, man. You just gotta go with the flow. I mean, like, yeah, the virus thing is pretty much fucked the whole world up. It's changed everything, you know, but you're still breathing and, you know, you're still walking around. So instead of, you know, getting caught up in anger or negativity, take a deep breath, you know, get a notebook out, take out a couple of fucking ideas from your head that you can, you know, take as first steps, you know, first steps towards eventually, you know, making some real changes in your life. And I promise you guys, you just start, man. Sometimes you just got to get up and go. You can't ask too many questions. You just got to pick it up and start moving, you know? Yeah, so like I said, guys, beautiful day, sunny Tirana, Albania. Life is good. The weather's good. People seem to be kind of out doing their thing, chilling. I don't know, man, I got no complaints, you know? Take a deep breath and just enjoy the moment, you know? So anyways, guys, I hope this video was a little bit helpful, a pep talk from your uncle over here, putting you on his fucking knee and giving you the knowledge, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm about to do, about to teach you how to live your fucking life and brush your teeth. But yeah, guys, all jokes aside, you know, like, it's hard out there, man. Like, you know, I understand suffering, man. Like, there's a lot of people suffering and the world is full of suffering. And like the Buddhists might be right about that, you know, accepting that fucking, it's not gonna change. It might be the first step to kind of being happy and just sort of accepting that life is what it is. Now, I don't mean become complacent, but, you know, just kind of accepting that not every day is gonna be paradise, you know? There's gonna be days that are gonna be fucked, and there's sometimes gonna be a long time that's gonna be fucked. There's gonna be months, you know, in some people's lives, unfortunately, years, you know? But you get a finite amount of time, and if you're not in prison, you're not dying of cancer, you don't have cerebral palsy, and you gotta try to be fucking happy because it's so short, guys. It's so short, and there's no telling when it's all gonna be over. You know, we have so little time to just be happy, you know? Don't focus on what other people are doing. Focus on what you're doing. Don't try to bring other people down. Try to help people. Try to, you know, try to fulfill your life with people that fucking care about you and that want something for you, you know, good for you, you know? Because there's so many fucking people out there that want to do bad, you know? And they want to do wrong by you, you know? It's like, you know, and it's so easy to get surrounded by that and to get caught up in that way of thinking. Because it seems like, you know, the toxic people just gather together and they get high off their toxicness, you know? And like, hey, you know, if that's what you want to do, you want to sit around being fucking miserable all day, I mean, that's up to you. I'm not your father. But like I said, you know, like, I think that it all starts with just making a plan and having a clear thought process. Like, how do I take it from step A to step B? Well, you know, maybe I can't get to step C or D right now, but I can at least get to step B. And what can I do today to further that goal? You know, like for me, I want to be a digital nomad. I want to live all over the world, and then eventually I want to find a cool place to settle down, have my little property with my fucking pets and dogs and chill on a beach somewhere, you know? I want that, you know? And like a lot of kids I grew up with, man, they can't see past, you know, small time hustles or getting locked up or working construction jobs or getting a union job. Like that's all they can see, you know? And maybe for them they're happy, but for me I wasn't. So I took these initiatives, you know, and I did it myself. And like I'm a little bit older, man, I'm not so good at digital marketing. I had to learn how to do a lot of this myself. And now that I've gotten a little better at it, I have, you know, more and more people who are helping us, and you know, like our little crew is getting big, man. We got a fucking sales team. We got 2 back-end guys who do all of the search engine optimization stuff, and we're starting, you guys are gonna see in the next year or so, we're gonna take the game to a different level. We're gonna try to be offering all different types of services, and we're also gonna be fucking trying to, you know, kick some knowledge and help people make their lives a little bit better. And like I was talking to a lot of people who like my show, and I floated the idea of me giving advice and me trying to help people through difficult, you know, situations. And the response was pretty positive. A lot of people were like, yeah, bro, you should do it. You know, like I would listen to that. And it got me thinking, and I was talking to the homie over in fucking Jakarta, and he's going through it. And I'm like, man, a lot of people are probably going through it right now. A lot of people probably need to hear from somebody who they like, you know, or they respect, you know, like some positive words. And like, I don't know, there's so much shit talking and fucking garbage online. Yo, what's up with it, guys? So we are cruising back towards the neighborhood, coming out of the city center. So far, I gotta say, man, Albania is really nice. Really laid back, really nice quality of life, good weather. After, you know, over 4+ years in a big city like Saigon, it's really refreshing being somewhere where the population isn't so fucking big, and like there's a lot of park space and like people utilizing park space and benches, like very different energy than in Saigon, you know? I'm really liking it a lot so far. And that's not to say that I didn't like Saigon. I mean, I love Saigon. Saigon is like, you know, it's like a home to me in a lot of ways. You know, it's a place I spent a pivotal time, you know, a pivotal time in my life where I really came into who I was. It was in Ho Chi Minh City. So I'm always gonna have a place for Saigon, and I'm always gonna love the people and some of the places and some of the memories and experiences. But it doesn't mean that it's not good once in a while to go and do something different. And I do think that, you know, the more that you challenge yourself, the more that you grow, you know? Picking up, going to different countries, doing different things, challenging yourself, changing your expectations. These are all things you can do, you know? And it's really not that hard to do. Like, people tell you your whole life that, oh, you gotta work and you gotta buy the house and you gotta do this and you gotta do that. But guys, the reality is you don't gotta do anything. You gotta do whatever the fuck you wanna do. You know, if you have a little bit of financial resources and the ability to get out there and to travel a little bit, you have way more options available to you in life than you ever could imagine. And each one of these places is different, and the people think different, and the mentality is different. And maybe the first place you go isn't gonna be the right fit. But sooner or later, you could find a little paradise for yourself. There's plenty of them out there. Don't let anybody kid you, you know? Just because one place is fucked doesn't mean all places are fucked. And just because, you know, one place is fucked at a time doesn't mean it's fucked forever. Like, I do think that there'll come a point again where, you know, places like Vietnam are possibly gonna be the spot to be again. But it might have to wait until there's a change in government. I want to be optimistic. I hope that they don't go the route of like a Xi Jinping, you know. I hope that they do keep changing the prime ministers, and that things can, you know, there is a chance for a different sort of mentality for Vietnam, because, you know, I love the country, and I don't want them to be colonized or taken over by America, but I don't want them to be colonized or taken over by China either. You know, I like Vietnam because Vietnam is, you know, it's its own thing. It's unique. It's a magical fucking place in a lot of ways, guys. It's a place where if you have the right idea, anything is possible. The people are good, the food is good, the weather's good, the culture is amazing. And I mean, like, unfortunately, it's going through a dark period right now. But there are a lot of people who are like, oh, it's over for Vietnam and it's gonna be fucked forever. And I'm not even talking about like the guy I was talking to. I'm talking about a lot of people I hear online in general, like, oh, you know, ESL in Vietnam is finished and da-da-da. And it's like, well, you think they're gonna become North Korea? Like, I mean, I guess they could, but, you know, I wanna think that, you know, a country that was doing so well for themselves and building so fast and developing so quickly, you know, that cooler heads will eventually prevail, I'm hoping. You know, like ultimately it's their country, it'll be their final decision what they do. It's not up to me, you know, but I hope for their sake, because, you know, if you went back a year or so ago, there was almost no better place in the world to be other than Vietnam, man. Like I said earlier in the video, high salaries, good weather, nice culture, beaches, beautiful women, good food. There's a lot of positives about that country. You could earn a lot of money. You didn't have to necessarily be qualified. Now, that did attract a lot of parasites, a lot of people who just got stuck and they hate the world and they blame everybody for their fucking problems. And, you know, okay, fine, they can survive in Vietnam. But it also attracted a lot of innovative and open-minded people and a lot of good people who cared a lot about the country, you know? And I hope things do get better over there. But I can't have the attitude like, oh, they're fucked, it's done. You know, like it's like, you know, I don't know, man, it's so dismissive. Like, it's these countries, man, they change, you know, like politics change, people change, situations change, you know. Nothing is finite, man. Like, even like shitty things in your life, eventually it's gonna pass, you know? And I think that's the part that people forget, you know? They forget that, like, you know, what's cool today could be fucked next week. But what's fucked next week could be cool the following week, you know? Like, life is constantly moving, you know? And if you get stuck with like a certain type of way of thinking or a certain idea and you just get fixated on that by itself, I mean, it's really easy to kind of like forget that, you know, like sometimes when the water gets rough, you got to swim with the current, you know? You know, but like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna give up, you know? Or are you gonna write off a country forever? You know, there's countries where there was like, you know, unfortunately a lot of war, conflict. Like here in Albania, they have a pretty dark history. They've been through a lot. But look at how beautiful it is here right now, you know? You know, obviously they've got wounds, you know, but they still are picking up and carrying on. And it's still an awesome place to be, you know? So I think it's a frame of mind thing, guys. It's you and how you view the world, the way you perceive reality. All right, so like I said, guys, life is always changing. You know, you can't get stuck thinking that, you know, just because something's bad right now, or just because you're angry right now, or just because you're depressed right now, that this is the infinite state of being, because it's not. Like, you know, everything is changing and evolving constantly. And either you're going to evolve with it or you're going to get swept up. And for me, it was a choice. Did I want to continue to live in a Western country? I had been doing nightclub work for most of my adult life, or things to do with that kind of like shady nighttime fucking club, strip club kind of world, you know? And a lot of people I know are very, very much still in that world, you know? And I just decided that I didn't want that for myself. I was like, this is not the life that I'm looking to have, you know? And I'm not knocking the homies who are still doing it, you know? Like, I got a cousin who's still doing the club thing, and, you know, cool, good for him. But I wanted more for my life, you know? And I knew that it wasn't gonna lead to happiness. And that if I continued down that road, not only was it not gonna lead to happiness, sooner or later, I was gonna kill somebody or I was gonna get myself killed. It was just one of those inevitabilities, you know? Or I was gonna end up in jail or something fucked up, you know? And by choosing to get out of the country and just taking a chance, I met my wife. I ended up having a short but interesting experience training Muay Thai over in Asia, where I ended up meeting other travelers, which led to a longer stretch of time, which led to a longer stretch of time, which eventually led to living overseas permanently. which eventually led to me, you know, picking up and, you know, going to China, and then from China to Vietnam, where I ended up learning about how to put together my own business, and I learned how to leverage the opportunities that I had available to me to make my life better. And it all started by just saying, you know, man, listen, I don't want to do the same thing everybody else is doing, and I'm going to use every bit of energy and time that I have on this earth to try to make sure that I don't end up living a life that I'm not completely happy with. So yeah, guys, you know, there isn't a whole lot more I can say than I haven't really already said about, you know, focusing on the negative and, you know, not fucking trying to make things better. I guess I'll just try to wrap it up and say, listen, man, I'm loving my life right now. Is it perfect? No. Are there things I wish was better? Yeah. Is there stress? Yeah. But I didn't start out loving my life. I had to really do a lot of thinking and a lot of changing of how I thought, and a lot of, like, you know, self-reflection and like introspection. You know, this is the first step to kind of figuring out what it is you want from your life. And like I said, you should have no regrets if you try something and it doesn't work. If you pick up and go to a country and it's fucked and something crazy happens, you know, that doesn't mean you shouldn't travel. It just means you have to fucking try again. Because, you know, when you first learn how to ride a bike, you fall a couple times, you know? It's pretty normal. What people don't realize, though, is the second you give up, it's over. You know, there's no turning back. Like, once you give up, you're done. Like, you've condemned yourself that this is all it's gonna be, and it's never gonna be any better. And, you know, you're just spinning your freaking wheels, you know? It's way easy to give up. It's not easy to pick yourself up after you've had a hard time or fallen, you know, scrape the knee, you know? Sometimes in life, things don't go the way you plan. The only thing you can do is try to have a good attitude and try something different. And I'm gonna get one of these spinach joints. Yo, what's up with it, guys? So we are back in my neck of the woods, next to the student city. Once again, nice day walking around in Tirana. Low key, pretty chill city. Interesting, you know, to be out on a weekend. Like I said, guys, right now the weather is amazing. It's like, I'm gonna say like maybe 5:30 or 6 now. It's still bright and sunny, dry, warm, but like real comfortable with a breeze. I'm gonna say like probably like maybe low 80s. I mean, just really, really nice. Summertime's out here is crazy. But I gotta say, none of this would have been possible. I would not have the resources, the ability to live in different places had I not taken the chance and initially gone to Vietnam. There's no telling where I would have ended up if I would have stayed in the States, just bouncing around, doing club jobs, you know, not really having a plan or a direction, you know. There's no telling where my life would have went. And I knew back then I wasn't happy. I was definitely angry. I was, you know, I was hustling all the time, but it wasn't like a hustle that was like really gonna ever take me anywhere. What are the skills that I learned by living overseas and by challenging myself to try different things are what have allowed me to put together the business that I have now. So had I not had these opportunities, you know, I don't know where I would have been. And had I not jumped and picked up and went to different places, I mean, none of these opportunities may have even presented themselves, you know? So it's interesting for me because it all started with just, you know, Muay Thai. I wanted to train, I wanted to fight, so I ended up checking out Thailand. Then I met some people who were travelers, and they told me to check out Australia, and they were going there to work so they could prolong their travel. And then boom, I meet my wife, and then boom, we're in Thailand, and then boom, we're back in the States. And, you know, and it's just one thing and another, and after a while, it's Nepal, it's Indonesia, it's Malaysia, it's fucking Vietnam, Cambodia, New Zealand. I mean, it's just in the blink of an eye, you know? And it was awesome, guys. I mean, there was times that were dark. Watch my first videos in New Zealand, I was majorly depressed. But, you know, like, I didn't let it get me. I made a plan, I got out of there. And like, you know, I stumbled a bit. And you guys could look at the videos. It was all a learning curve, man. Like, everything's out there, you know? But I learned how to deal with these kind of countries and like places like Vietnam and places like China and Cambodia and how they work and how they do their business. And it reminded me a lot of like some street shit I had learned growing up in New York. So I took that information and I leveraged it to make something for myself. You know, I didn't get out there and like get stuck or give up. And there was times where, man, you know, teaching 50, 60 kids, I was like definitely ready to say, fuck this, I want to go back to working in a club. So like I said, guys, up to you what you do with your life, you know? But don't let anybody else tell you what's right for you, what's wrong for you. Don't tell them what lifestyle you live is wrong or right. You know, don't tell them you can't do something, but something could go wrong. Don't let anybody tell you nothing, man. At the end of the day, nobody knows what's good for you but you. You gotta close your eyes at night and you gotta be alone with yourself. And you gotta be alone with your decisions, you know? And you know, you gotta come to terms with that and be happy with that, you know? Because like I said, life is fucking short, man. You know, you don't wanna waste it being unhappy. You don't wanna waste it, you know, talking about what you coulda, shoulda, woulda done. You know, it's you know, the time is now, man. The time is now. Get out there and do something different. So this road is super narrow. It's funny because they got a bike lane over here and the pedestrian walkway is super narrow. But I was gonna go get a spinach thing, but they didn't have one. So now I'm gonna go and to this bakery over by my house, and they got really good fucking burek. It's like kind of like feta and spinach in like phyllo dough. And when I was a kid, my mom used to make the Greek spinach pie. We're not Greek, but we had a lot of Greek people in our neighborhood. So she learned like how to make it because she knew we liked it. So she would make it at home. So now I'm kind of addicted to this stuff. And this is not the Greek one, but it's very similar. And it's really fucking good. So that's the mission at the moment. And then we're gonna go home and have a chilled out night. And I hope you guys enjoyed this type of content. I'm gonna try to do a lot more. I'm gonna try to kind of give you guys more of these kind of like advice and coping tips, and maybe help you guys build strategies to make your lives a little bit better, you know, based on just my experiences and things that have worked well for me over the years. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed these videos, and I hope you brush your teeth and stay in school and eat your vegetables and pull your socks up and make sure you fucking look after your dental hygiene. What do you think of when you think of Albania? I think of opportunity. I think of a country that's open. I think of a country that wants long-stay expats, that wants people to come and invest, wants new ideas, and is looking towards the West. I think that Albania is a beautiful country with incredible landscapes that can offer a very comfortable lifestyle at a very reasonable price. We will help navigate your journey to becoming an expat in Albania. We're working with some of the top lawyers. We can help establish businesses. We can help you get your residency. We can help you get real estate. We can arrange almost any contact that you might need for the process of moving here in almost any city in the country. We will simplify the process. We'll make it a lot easier for you to move to a country that maybe in the past would have been more of a challenge. With our help, it's going to be a walk in the park.
And wash your teeth, son.
Hey, what's up? I'm D from Canada. Hook up with the New York Nomad if you want a smooth ride into Vietnam or any Southeast Asian countries.
Hey, my name is Aaron. Get in contact with the New York Nomads. If you want to get into Vietnam, hit them up. They'll get you in securely and professionally.
Yo, this is Uncle Hollywood. I'm telling you right now, the New York Nomad got me a job. He's legit. Hit him up. Check him out.
New York Nomad set me up in Vietnam.
Yo, my man got me a job. Come to Vietnam.
Hey, what's up, guys? You thinking about coming to Vietnam? you're not sure where to start, you've heard a lot of things online, you don't know what's true, you don't know what's not, we offer a consulting service where we help you get on your feet in Vietnam. We give you advice on negotiating contracts with employers. We help you with real estate agents, visa agents that are reliable and that you can trust. We help you get started in this amazing country and get on your feet. We help you get into different opportunities that might be more difficult for you if you were just landing in the country on your own. And we help you avoid a lot of the pitfalls and problems that you could have as a newcomer here. We provide you with reliable job recruiters, visa agents, real estate agents, and advice. If you guys are thinking about coming to Vietnam, hit us up for a consultation. We'll help you get started, help you get on your feet, and hopefully you'll love Vietnam as much as we do.